Ace Podcast.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
I don't think that one's it. Let's try that again.
Look, I'm going to ask you one more time. What have you done to me?
I don't think that one's right either. One more time.
Who is Solange? What happened to her? Nothing. I was thinking about someone else. Talk. I don't know anything for sure. She was half French, turned on, swinging.
That's the one. Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents What Have You Done to Solange? Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from themoonsdeadworld.net, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back for a new episode. This time we're out of the series stuff that we've been doing recently, like with the Saw series, our Christmas series, and most recently our Death Wish series. We're done with that for right now, so you don't have to worry about like tuning in for every single episode in case you miss something.
Oh, you should.
You should tune in for every single episode, but you won't miss anything if we, in this episode, because it's a standalone.
Well, to be fair, with the Death Wish series and the Saw series, you miss one, you're not really missing too much.
That's true, but they're going to miss all of our in-jokes.
Well,
Yeah. So
that's why they have like TV tropes.
True.
We'll be on there.
And you can just go back to the previous episode. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we are here with What Have You Done to Solange, which we promised in the last week's episode. This is a giallo film from 1972, also known in the Italian. I'm going to butcher it, but it's Cosa Avete Fatto a Solange. That's pretty good. Not Italian, but I worked through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, What Have You Done to Solange is a giallo film from Massimo Dallamano. Dallamano, most notably known for his cinematography and not so much his directorial stuff. But What Have You Done to Solange has a pretty big cult following, apparently. I didn't really realize this until I kind of started doing a little bit more research and listening to an audio commentary track that is featured on the Blu-ray version of this film released by Arrow Video. But apparently it has a huge following and is some people's one of their favorite giallos of all time.
I mean, I haven't really...
You're not well versed in the giallo formula, so...
I've seen this in Tenebrae, so...
Yeah. So you can't comment that much on it. But, yeah, I mean, I found that surprising, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people kind of herald this film as what some critics call an anti-giallo film. And I don't really know if that's the case so much, at least in terms of what I've experienced for giallo films, which we can talk about a little bit later when we get into the actual meat of the show. But I just kind of wanted to give a little context to this film, because I'm going to take a guess and say that not a lot of people that aren't, super well versed in horror, I'm guessing they probably have not heard of this film. And, I think it's fairly obscure, and for a reason. I don't know that many casual moviegoers are going to go out and say, I want to watch What Have You Done to Solange, and then come back and be like, well, you know what? That's now entered my favorite movie realm.
I think that's probably the case though with most Italian films.
Probably. They're not... I will say they're not very easy to get into in any way.
I was going to say, because outside of spaghetti westerns, and then for the most part, just Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns, if you're not like a cinephile or somebody like deep into a specific genre of film,
and historical,
you're not gonna go looking for it. It's
And I mean that's kind of surprising too because it has such a high volume of fans, you would think that it would have a lot more people talking about it, but at the same time, it definitely doesn't reach levels like, Argento's films, like Suspiria or Tenebrae, some of the Mother trilogy. It just doesn't have that widespread appeal, I guess. And as we cover more giallo in the future, I think you'll find that there's a lot of people who have high esteem for certain giallos, and then they may not be as entertaining as you first thought when you see them. I think that's the case not only with giallo films, but also with spaghetti westerns. There are a lot of spaghetti westerns that people really hold in high esteem, and then when you go to watch them, you kind of wonder, like, where did that cult following come from?
Two Mules for Sister
Yeah,
Sarah.
we've experienced a couple, actually. Clint Eastwood films, too. Two Mules for Sister Sarah being one of the biggest ones that actually has a pretty high rating for most people, right? I mean, people like Two Mules for Sister Sarah.
If you're a spaghetti western,
Yeah,
fan,
if you're a
which I am too, but I found it to be terribly fucking boring,
overdrawn, boring.
The only like fun thing about it was the fact that Ennio Morricone does the score for it, and the fact that for like the score for the theme, they make sure to add like a hee-haw.
Yes. Yeah, a donkey noise.
Yeah, like
just to make sure that like, or I guess you could call it a mule sound.
But I mean, even at the same time, like, even though like a film like that I did find to be kind of a bore and a chore to watch, I could totally understand, though I love all of the Sergio Leone spaghetti western films, even the one that most people, unless you're like a fan of spaghetti westerns, haven't seen, Fistful of Dynamite, or Duck You Sucker, which stars James Coburn. I can see how if even films like Once Upon a Time in the West, not just a like classic spaghetti western or a western, it's a great film. I can see though how somebody watching that, if they're not like somebody
it's super long for one thing,
if they're not really vested into like that genre and style of filmmaking, I can easily see how you're not gonna like that.
Right.
Same thing with the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see now with that specifically. I can totally see why people would not like that film, even though it is considered a classic. It's a lot of people really love that film. There's a lot of fans out there who like the long cuts and stuff like that. I can totally see why someone would come back and say, that was just not for me. In a time where most of our movies now barely break 90 minutes sometimes, like genre movies, like horror films, thrillers, stuff like that. Not like Oscar contenders and more dramatic stuff, superheroes, but in a time where some of our genre fare, and I would say, actually, some of the westerns now have been bringing that back with like longer than 2 hour epics.
I would say the only films these days that are like under 2 hours are animated films.
Yeah.
And horror films. Even comedies today are fucking pushing.
Yeah, that's true. Any Judd Apatow movie is going to push 2 hours.
Like most films are like really like I think a lot of directors and producers have this idea that like for a film to be like considered like this big successful film, it's got to be long, drawn out. So when people are like, to beat that old dead horse that we'll never stop beating on this podcast, with Batman v Superman, it was 2 hours and like 40 minutes, still sucked. Oh wait, when you watch the director's cut though, it's an extra 45 minutes long. It makes much more sense. Yeah. No, like
didn't need that extra.
You figure out how to plot and pace your film.
Sorry.
And I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about. For me, like Once Upon a Time in the West and The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, even though they're like 2.5+ hour films, I think they're paced in a certain way, in a certain style that works, makes it engaging, makes it, an enjoyable watch. Whereas there's other films that are that same length, like the remake of RoboCop. It doesn't have that good pacing, that well-told story, and that dynamic to it that makes that time that you're investing into the film feel worthwhile and entertaining. So yeah. I just think, it's, you gotta, it's all about being able to hit the right notes at the right time.
It's true, that's true. And I think that we can even bring that back to giallo and what have you done to Solange, because many giallos, I'm not going to call them gialli because it just sounds weird. I mean, that's technically the plural, but I'm going to call them giallos. Many giallos are like pretty long as well. I mean, they're lengthier.
Tenebrae, from what I remember, is pretty.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour and 40 something. Yeah. And similarly, What Have You Done to Solange reaches about an hour and 40, almost 50 minutes, and 50 minutes. So it's a pretty lengthy film for a horror genre film. And I think you can say a lot of the same thing with giallo films, is that some of them really hit the pace well, and they're slow but intentionally so, and then some are just slow and don't really need that slowness. Like, they don't need to go that plotting with their plot. And we'll talk about where What Have You Done to Solange falls on that spectrum in a minute. But first, I kind of wanted to get into our beer talk before we actually get into What Have You Done to Solange.
Some positive beer talk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I bought the Harpoon Spring Pack maybe a week ago, I think. It was on sale. Looked really good. Yeah, that's always the key point with me, is that it was on sale.
If you're a listener of this podcast, you would know by now. He gets his craft beer on sale.
I only buy things on sale. That's right. Yeah, I'm not going to go out and buy anything that's $16.99 and over.
No.
So I picked up the Harpoon Spring Pack, and what do you know? Harpoon's got a lot of IPAs in their Spring Pack, or in general, pale ales, hoppy beers. Yeah.
Not as bad as a lot of other. I would say.
I think they're experimenting a little bit with the style. I mean, they're not going a full Sierra Nevada, and it's like, here's 4 different kinds of IPAs, and they only differ slightly. There's some fruits in some, but like with this one, you get your standard Harpoon IPA, which they've been putting in a lot of their packs lately. The standard Harpoon IPA.
Must be like
they must be going with that as like their trademark beer for these packs.
I'm having a hard time thinking about what used to be there.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't really know.
I almost want to say their UFO was.
Maybe. Could have been a standard.
I don't think it was, but I almost want to say it. But maybe that's because around here, like
we get that a lot.
A lot of their regular UFO, their Hefeweizen UFO, and the raspberry Hefeweizen.
Mm. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. So maybe the IPA always has been. I'm just not remembering it properly. But that's in there. We're not really going to cover that because I think we've done Harpoon's IPA before.
We have.
Yeah,
it's good. It's a good IPA.
It is a good IPA. I like it. It's solid. But the other ones that we've had today, which I've had a couple before, but we're really going to cover them on the podcast today. We had the Harpoon Crake, which is their Irish Red IPA, which is, as far as I know, pretty new for them. I don't recall it out last year. It's it's possible they've had it around. I've never had it before. But it's a good Irish Red IPA. It's pretty much everything that you'd expect when you hear that name.
It's I didn't actually read the bottle. I thought it was just kind of like a standard Irish red ale. It's not too terribly hoppy on it, and you definitely get the malty sweetness of an Irish red ale style.
Definitely.
So I wouldn't probably say it's an IPA. That's just from my taste buds. I thought it was, but I think as an Irish red ale, it's pretty darn good.
I definitely get the maltiness of the Irish red part of it. I do get a slight hoppiness to it, but you're right. I mean, the hoppy character isn't really overwhelming in this. I think that's probably pretty good. I mean, I don't really think this needs to be loaded with hops to really... Like
Sam's Tasman, right? Where it's like, you got high hop, high malt, and just... Even though I do like the, and I don't even think they make that shit anymore.
They don't make those like specialty bottles anymore, I don't think.
It's sad, because those are all pretty damn good.
You may be able to get it like on tap at their brewery, but I don't know about...
around here, you might, at a certain place, you might...
you might be able to find... I'm sure at Nafe's they've got the bottles, to be honest with you.
But yeah, I like that a lot. Especially now that it's getting to be
warmer out. Today it was like 50.
I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I was still sweating my ass off outside.
Yeah, it was a nice day today, and that's kind of what you want. I think it's pretty refreshing. Not overwhelmingly malty either.
And especially when you think about it, too. Spring up here is a very short season.
It is.
You either have a long winter, a short spring, and it jumps into summer, or you have a short winter, small spring, long summer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gotta enjoy those spring-style beers while you can.
That's right. Yeah, there's not that much time for them. And actually, just relating to that, last year, my mother-in-law bought a Sam Adams spring pack for me to have when I go over there to their house, and she still has some. So I still have because I think in that last spring pack, it wasn't a winter, it was like midwinter to early spring. They had a Scotch ale in it and stuff.
I remember. It was delicious.
I've still got that. I've still got one Scotch ale waiting for me over there.
Well, you better go and drink it, because one, it's bad, and two, that Scotch ale was great. I loved Sam's Scotch ale on that. Because we did talk about it in the podcast. I remember, I'm like, why? Because I remember specifically saying, why don't more companies do a Scotch ale? Scotch ales are a great malty, heavy beer for early spring, winter. No, I do IPAs. It's the winter though. I'm gonna do IPAs. No, Scotch ales.
I just thought it was funny because you were talking about how short our spring season is, and after spring. It's weird, but it's just a feeling that I have. But after spring ends and we're kind of into the warmer part of late spring, early summer, I don't want a Scotch ale at that time.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? That's why I've got it left over, because we have such a short period of time. I'm not over there all the time, so it's left over, and then I always get to that point where I'm like, I don't want this now. So yeah, we do have a really short spring season. It's crazy. It's crazy. You don't get to enjoy it because let's reminisce about seasons for a little while. We do get to experience all 4 of them, although they generally turn into 2.
At their extremes.
Yeah. But I do like the spring season because you get to have your windows open, and there's a very mild warmth to it. That's you need your window open, but it's not super hot.
My favorite part of spring is you get to decide pants or shorts.
That's right. Yeah.
You can literally decide.
Yeah.
I can live with pants on. I can live with shorts on.
I also sporting I'm gonna wear shorts, but also a flannel.
Yeah,
because you get because my legs don't often get that cold, but my arms can sometimes. So I might as well wear a flannel with the shorts on. You get to have that kind of juxtaposition between
the dichotomy.
Yeah, that's right. And it also feels cool.
Yeah,
my legs are open to the breeze, but my arms are nice and protected.
Yeah. But no, that's probably my favorite part, because in the summer, shorts all. I am not one of the. Even as I'm getting older, I haven't been able to transition to pants all the time.
Yeah,
I just can't do it. Dying of heat stroke. I sweat too easily for that shit. I just can't do it.
A lot of people just wear pants all year round.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I just can't do it. Just.
I'm sure a lot of your family members do.
Yeah.
Pants and Timberlands.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure.
Yeah, my dad doesn't wear shorts often at all.
Older guys are like that, though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. A lot, even as I'm getting older.
I wasn't saying just older men in your family, though. I was saying
No, I know. No, I know.
Guys.
No, I know what you're saying. Because when I think of older people, my dad and your dad's one of the few older guys that I know.
He does wear shorts.
That will wear shorts in the summer.
He wears shorts and champion tank tops.
Yeah. He's got tennis and volleyball to be playing.
That's right, and chest hair to sport.
But a little off topic. But but at the same time, I'll only wear the only days on the summer I'll be wearing jeans is when I'm at work, because I'm in a fucking freezer, so I gotta layer up.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, off day, fucking wearing shorts.
True. All right, what do you got? What are you having right now?
I finished Harpoon's Fresh Tracks, which is their bright floral hoppy spring pale ale. I would say this is a pretty mild pale ale. It's not very hoppy, but that's not a bad thing. Because it's like a session pale ale.
Yeah.
It's pretty light. Very drinkable, though the alcohol on it says 6.2, which makes me pretty damn shocked.
Yeah.
Because it does not have like a very alcohol kick to it at all.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't necessarily call it very florally. I'm assuming they're saying because of the hops, so they're like saying floral and hoppy, but
could be.
but still, I think it's pretty good.
I mean, I think it's their thing now to do like 3 adjectives. For,
well, yeah, you gotta.
Because I got this too. The Irish Red IPA is hoppy, malty, vibrant. So I think that's their thing now. 3 descriptions for it.
Well, yeah. If two, you're like, oh, why would
Can't go 2 descriptors.
I mean, no,
too little.
but it is good, and it does have like a slight maltiness to it too, which is,
I gotta say, I've had a few of the fresh tracks, and I do like it quite a bit. I think it is very easy to drink. I could see myself outside when it gets a little bit warmer drinking
this
those.
is lawn mowing beer.
That's right. That's true.
This
doesn't have to just be spring.
No, this would be a great for them to put in their summer pack too.
Yeah. It actually kind of reminds me of I can't remember what it was, but last year I did find a good IPA that was very easy to drink. It wasn't really technically a session, but it was super easy to drink, and that was a good lawn mowing beer too. Similar.
Founders?
No, I think. It was Founders. Yeah, all day IPA. It was very good.
When you got the 15 pack?
Very solid. Very solid. Yeah, so I mean, I think both of these beers are really, really good in this pack. And besides that IPA, there's another one that I can't remember right now. What off the top of my head, what the other style is?
It's a golden ale.
Golden ale.
Can't remember what it's called. It's like it has like a canoe on it. But I know it is a golden ale. I had that last time. Didn't review it, but I did have it last time when we were watching Death Wish 5, and I like it a lot. It's had like a nice again, malt is like the theme of the pack because it's the nice balance, from going from winter to spring.
Yeah.
It was another. You got the maltiness of it, but it's very light, very drinkable, very crisp and enjoyable. I liked it a lot, and if you listen to the podcast, then you would know we're pretty big Harpoon fans here.
Yeah. Been there.
I haven't. I wanted to go.
I like their bathroom. Got a nice view of the harbor.
But no, they make nothing but good beer.
They make a good beer?
I haven't really had it. Yeah, their Hefeweizen's like one of 2 Hefeweizens I like.
That's true. That's a promotion in itself.
I know,
there.
because Hefeweizen's a terrible style beer,
Sorry.
but
Yeah.
They do it well.
Even their green IPA is pretty good.
Well,
Green meaning it's not ready for actual bottling yet. 'Cause it hasn't been carbonated, but yeah, check out the Harpoon spring pack.
Because in 2 weeks the summer pack will be out.
I'm sure it will be. And by that time we may be in the spring or summer here ourselves. It's been warm enough.
I'd welcome it.
Huh?
Though that damn groundhog said we're supposed to get 6 months.
6 more weeks.
6 more weeks.
Well, we got to be coming to the tail. When was Groundhog's Day?
February 1st.
February 1st?
Well, the first week of February.
First week. So we're like 3 weeks in now, almost.
Yeah, but he lied.
I don't know.
To be fair, we didn't really have much of a winter to begin with. We had one big snowstorm.
We've been getting dumped on a little bit.
Well, we got the one big snowstorm recently, but other than that, it wasn't really snow. It was nothing but fucking sleet, which is miserable.
That's true.
I'd rather, when Santa was coming, it wasn't snow he was coming to, it was fucking sleet. I'd much rather have,
Yeah. All right, well, we're not old men in rocking chairs sitting around talking about the weather.
We could be, though.
But we're not. We can't. No one wants to listen to us talk about our local weather on here. If they did, we'd be on CBS local news channel.
Good Morning America.
That's right. We're here to talk about what have you done to Solange, obviously. So what have you done to Solange is, I guess a lot of people call it an anti-giallo, as I mentioned before at the beginning of the podcast. But I don't really find it as such in that I understand what people are saying, that it tries to circumvent a lot of giallo's rules, and giallo rules being black-gloved killer, point of view, a lot of naked Italian women, sexual violence sometimes. I think it's hard to say that What Have You Done to Solange circumvents that, because that is a huge part of the film itself. It does do a lot of like secretive work behind the viewer's back. Like there's a lot of dramatic irony here, but at the same time, it actually for me falls directly in line with the rest of the giallo film canon. I don't really think that there's much here that has not been pursued in other films. But we have to think, too, that this is a rather early giallo. It's 1972.
Now, when did... I don't know if you talked about it with Tenebrae at all, but when did, like, giallo kind of become, like, a genre?
I mean, in the 60s, really. I mean, in the, like, mid to late 60s is really when you could... pinpoint some of the giallo guidelines, I guess you would say. Mario Bava doing a lot of that in films like Bay of Blood, and now I've got to look up some of the, like, it's late 60s, early 70s, I would say, is really the time period that you are looking at. And I think that What Have You Done to Solange, it does come at an earlier point in this style, and I think that it does do a lot of things very well. Maybe we should start with the things that it does really well first. And I'll just throw this out there. I really like the cinematography in this, and that makes sense too, because Massimo Dallamano has done numerous films working with cinematography. As we mentioned before, we're huge fans of spaghetti westerns, and he worked on the Fistful series. And I think that really shows in What Have You Done to Solange, because he does seem to have an eye for capturing some really cool visuals. One that really stands out in particular for me is when our main character, Enrico, comes home to his apartment to find his girlfriend, Elizabeth, in the bathtub. And the camera kind of shifts a little bit.
Goes at that nice Dutch angle.
Yeah, like a nice little Dutch angle. And it's similar to that is earlier in that scene, there's a really cool moment where we're following the point of view of the killer. And normally when you get that point of view, you're seeing it very slow movements, very, you know what I mean? Like very like calculated movements. And in this scene, there's it's like very fast paced. It's like very frantic rushing to the victim, strangulation, and drowning. And it's over. It happens for about like a minute or so, but really the whole event seems very rushed on purpose. Not rushed in that the director was, editing it, chopped it poorly. But the editing is really very frantic in this and chaotic, and I like that a lot. I thought that was a really cool scene within this film.
I think it's a great. I think it's a pretty damn good POV bit, because it is very reminiscent, like, obviously Psycho, with how like most people kind of picture like a perfect like POV style. So it's like a great at first, it is kind of like that, because when you see him entering the apartment, he's slow, he's doing it, being quiet, being methodical, looking around, and then when he gets to Elizabeth and then starts, choking and drowning her in the bathtub, it becomes frantic and it becomes, more hectic. It's not just, in like Psycho, with it's just like, kind of flat. Once you get to the killing part, it's, kind of more away, and so you don't really get to see it. This, you get to see it, and it becomes frantic and brutal. And then after, when it's done, you see him kind of slowly start to go away, but then as soon as he gets to the door, it becomes, the frantic getaway.
Yeah, the rush to get down the stairwell and out the door.
And I think it's very well done because again, it's at first it's slow and it's building that tension, and then when you get to the brutal aspect of it, it shows you it, and this film throughout makes sure to show you the brutal aspects of the killings.
Yeah,
and then when he is going away, you got that frantic nature because probably for the most part, people who are, if they go and strangle and drown somebody, they're not gonna just like dust their hands off and whistling Dixie down the stairwell. They're gonna be trying to get the hell out of it.
Yeah, I think in this, you're actually seeing, and it makes sense later on, but you're actually seeing sort of the nervousness of the killer itself. A lot of times when you see those POV shots, they're kind of outside of context for a lot of the film. Like, especially when you see them at the beginning of the film or something like that, as it's building, they're out of context where you're not really sure at this point who the killer is, and they seem very calm about everything that they're doing. Whereas in this scene in particular, there's not that calmness. There's no, like, calculated movements here. It's a messy killing. It's not something that's, like, easily done. There's no, like, garrote wire or anything like that where it's just like over and done, and then you wipe your hands off and you said, okay, well, I'm done with that and let's go back home. It's not as easy or simple as that, and I like that because it actually becomes a more important part of the film later on as we get into the full plot of What Have You Done to Solange, because this film goes about 2/3 of its running time without that Solange character even mentioned in the film. It's a very interesting and risky scenario, I feel like.
Even longer than 2/3, almost 3/4 of the film.
Yeah, I think so.
It's even brought up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a risky thing that they took that. I don't know. I mean, does it work? For you, does it work to wait that long to understand that Solange is actually a part of this storyline?
I think they should have renamed the film. Or at least give it like a different name. Well, I understand when we listened to a little bit saying like the title of the commentary saying the title is a bit of a red herring. I'm not saying explicitly in the title spell out what's going to happen.
Yeah, but
it's almost, the film's posing you a question. Mm-hmm. Like, so you expect, like, what happened to, what have you done to Solange? So you're expecting somewhere in this film for that question to come up and to be kind of like a pivotal thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to have a movie called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And there's no dinner. And there's nobody that shows up. Yeah. Instead, they have brunch and mimosas and nobody shows up in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense. The only reason I said that because it's Sidney Poitier's birthday the other day.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Saw that on Facebook. But as I told you when we got done watching the film, the main point of this like arc of this film, it's a long, long way to get there.
There is.
And by God, you could have done it differently. And because up until, like, I'm not going to say the film's meandering, but it's meandering, though. Like, there's things happening, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And it'd be fine just being like a whodunit type of story, like who's doing these brutal murders. But it's the film's already asking you the question about this character who has no real bearing on the plot, but they do because the motive behind it. So it's.
I mean, I think I have to disagree with you a little bit there. I do like the title. I don't think that they should have changed it for this. I do like that the whole storyline hinges on this Solange character that we don't know about for so long, because you have to think about that the title is almost an accusation to us as the audience as well. It's kind of interesting in that scenario, especially when it
I don't think it works like that.
Well, I mean, especially when it comes down to how society treats sexuality.
You're going a long way. You're going a long way for that drink of water. That's my whole point. That's like such a long way to go. You can make the point that this film's trying to make. I'm not saying the point that this film's trying to make is bad or wrong. I'm saying the how they get there is so fucking convoluted. It doesn't have to be. You can do a mystery killer story and have the point that it wants to get across, but the whole, like, it's not, like, compared to Tenebrae. It's not well paced. It's not. It doesn't connect as well.
No,
I know the whole point of these films is trying to be like, again, like a whodunit and make it hard. Because again, Tenebrae at the same time, if you're not really paying attention, it's hard to figure out who the killer is. You know, because there ends up being, as we talked about, 2 killers in it. Like, kind of like, gotcha.
Right.
It's almost the same thing with this one, because the killer in this one is somebody who's in the film for fucking 3 minutes.
No, I definitely agree with you there in that I think that What Have You Done, Solange could have been tidied up quite a bit. I mean, for a lot of the film, we're following Enrico as he does his own sort of investigation into the deaths of these students at his school, which he is actually a suspect in because he's been seeing Elizabeth on the side, you know, when he's married to an angry German woman.
Who's also a teacher at the school.
Who's also a teacher at the school. I mean, yes, you're right. That beginning, I do find fault in. I think that the beginning is a poor way to start What Have You Done to Solange. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that your biggest complaint is that the beginning does not have Solange in there in some way.
No, it's more the fact. Look, I think, okay, I'm probably not explaining myself as clearly. I'm fine with, like, her not coming up to where she comes up in. But again, my point is, the whole first, like, 3/4 of the film is they're trying to, it's like, it just doesn't build right for me.
Right, well,
I think the character arcs that you get going on there, and not only that, but like some of the suspects, like the fact that they're even trying to have him as a suspect doesn't make sense, because he was in the beginning, he's in a fucking boat. Right. So you already know he can't be unless it's some kind of bullshit that, like, you know, like, oh, like in Tenebrae, there's 2 killers, you know, so like, oh, he wasn't the first one, but maybe he's a copycat or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I think they dedicate time to trying to build character and having certain characters go through arcs, but it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. Like they dedicate a lot of time in this film to Enrico and his wife and how they're separated and they're very cold towards each other and they don't love each other as much anymore. That's why he's fucking cheating on her with one of his students. And then after Elizabeth dies, all of a sudden, and you know, she doesn't care anymore. Right. Because they find out she was a virgin. She didn't sleep with him. You know, he did other shit with her, but he didn't sleep with her. So she's not pissed about it anymore. Now all of a sudden, like, she's gone through this arc of like, I trust you, and so it's like that tension between the two. It amounts to nothing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't think that the film does a very good job with its characters at the beginning of the film. I think that it is very slow to get going. In that, not even just the murders, because we don't need to see all of the murders on screen. Obviously, it's not really.
You don't need to see the autopsy.
Yeah, exactly.
In a comical form.
Yeah. The X-ray of what happens is the killer, motivated by an event that occurs later on to Solange, which you don't know about. I won't really discuss it right now, but he stabs each of the victims in the vaginal area, sometimes shoving it straight up there.
I was say not in the vaginal, right up the twat.
Right up there.
Right up the twat. Yes.
And we get an X-ray visual of it. It's shown to the parents
of the dead child.
It's a pretty disturbing scene in itself, because that it's kind of like from Death Wish, where the doctor's just like, "Yep, that happened." You know what I mean? And just kind of like emotionally...
what about my wife? Oh, she's dead.
Yeah. Emotionally vacant, just like, you want to see where the knife was? Right up your daughter's vagina. No,
well, it's like, you want to see how she got pounded? Is like this. Yeah. Like the doctor gets over the body. Like...
yeah.
Subtlety.
He had to use this much force. No. But I mean, I think that... you're right. There's a lot of time spent in that beginning portion of investigating people that, as an audience, we pretty much know they could not be a part of that murder. We know it. I mean, we are privy to that information, and I don't know if it's the right use of the film's time at that point. I think that some viewers will be turned off by that slow opening. That was really my biggest concern with this film, was that slow open, the plotting nature of the detective work that occurs in the beginning. I think once you really get into the film a little bit more towards the middle, you start to get a little bit more invested in the actual investigation. At the same time, there's totally room to criticize What Have You Done to Solange for following Enrique, who really should have no information in this investigation whatsoever.
The fact that after he's dismissed as being
a murder suspect,
the inspectors just let him fucking pal around and be the Hardy Boys. Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't. If we're following Enrico only, then we should not know about all of this information in the police investigation. I guess we went from positives to negatives here, because we were supposed to be talking about the positives of the film, but I think they kind of all tie together. I mean, did you like it once you got into like the meat of the film? Once you got into the middle towards when actually Solange was introduced? I mean,
no, I thought it was fine. I think. I don't have a problem with the intro being slow.
Yeah.
I thought it was, paced out fine. But my main problem is, I think, is my whole problem with this film is the fact, the point that it's trying to make, you find out last 30 seconds of the film. Mm-hmm. And then it's you went a very long way of like doing all the shit that you were doing just to get to that point. There was no build up to it. It's like they didn't know how to show you some of those parts. Look, I guess we'll talk about the bad now. At least
right, yeah. We're kind of into it.
At least what I find bad. So. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the film.
Spoilers!
The whole point and plot of this film is that the killer of the film is the father of Solange, who got an abortion from a maid because her and her friends went to sex parties and had sex. Mm-hmm. And she got knocked up, and so they took her to her friend's maid who knew how to do these things, and now she's all fucked up in the head from her abortion experience and being traumatized by it. And now the father's out to get revenge on those girls who drove her to them.
Who's also happens to be a professor at the same school that Enrico works at.
Yeah.
So
none of that, you're not privy to any of that information until the very end. Yeah. There's nothing there to show that, like, oh, maybe these girls sleep around, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing of the sort, or like that connects these people who are getting killed to this girl. Like, and again, I'm fine with the fact they don't bring up Solange. My problem is they don't give you any information on those girls prior that says like they might have had other sexual encounters or anything. Yeah. It's that part, and then there's one part closer to the, like, not at the very end, but close to the end, where they say like, oh, a couple of the girls, they dated university students.
Right.
And that's it. Again, that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that will lead you towards that.
I think that is a huge misstep on the film's part. You're right. There is nothing really besides a few hints here or there. And even then, it's hard, especially watching now, to pick up on those hints and think like, oh, wow, yeah, a lot of those classmates were sleeping around or something like that. There's a couple mentions of like when they're interviewing some of the suspects at the school and they're saying, I didn't think she was a whore and things like that. It's in reference to her like sleeping with one person or potentially sleeping with one person. But at the same time, it's a very odd usage of the word whore.
Not really, because
it's a religious school as well.
Well, not only that, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's that, because you think of the time period, not only that, even by today's standards, by a lot of people, not necessarily women, but guys, like if you hear like a chick's been sleeping with like just one guy, but they're not like married or something or anything like that, there's a lot of people around here that are guys that be like, oh, she's a whore.
Yeah.
That's like, so that to me, I'm fine with, like the fact when like Elizabeth gets killed and like, oh, I didn't, and they all find out that she was sleeping with Enrico, that they're like, oh, I didn't think she was a whore.
Right.
It's not that they're implying that she slept with a bunch of people. It's just that she's having sex out of wedlock.
Yeah, but
which would be considered being a whore.
But I feel like that's a symbolic hint towards later on the sex part. Not saying that does anything for the viewer, because you're not really going to pick up on that. I feel like that as a script, as part of the script, is like a subtle allusion to later on when you actually find out, yes, they were all part of this sex party that would, co-ed sex party.
But the thing is, too, like, the only other hint is one of the guys that first introduces the idea of who is Solange is he says they're a bunch of dykes.
Right.
In his eloquent words.
Yeah.
He doesn't say he didn't sleep with any of them. They're all lesbians. That's it. So, and again, it's not like, and not only that, so like, how can you, and he's not even a trustworthy source of information, so you can't, it's not like, you should take that as a hint that they're, promiscuous. No, because the person that he's talking to is not someone, that's really trustworthy. Nobody in this film is really trustworthy outside of the cops and
pretty much Enrico.
Yeah, Enrico.
You can trust him fairly well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge issue in this film, is that you don't get any sort of vital information about this group of teens being in a sex party until the very end, where they actually pretty much in detail describe it to you. I mean, it actually comes from one of the victims who is giving you this information that, yes, she got pregnant and we had to seek out an abortion because of that. I think that is definitely a problem with this film, because it doesn't go into any of those details, and you're missing that as a viewer. That's pretty much vital information.
And not only that, they're each of these girls outside of Elizabeth, you don't get to see them until they're about to meet their demise.
Pretty much.
So you don't get to know anything about their character except Elizabeth, who you can only take as somebody who's just a young girl in a high school who's caught up and infatuated with her teacher.
Yeah, you only get to see them a little bit, like in the shower or something like that, as someone else is spying on them. I think, though, that and we mentioned this in the after, like, we watched the film, and the film really cuts out. Like at the end of the film, it's just like, that happened, done. You know what I mean?
You're very stereotypical, like, old school film. Where it's like, it's over. Then it's like, bam.
Here's the explanation, and then we're out. We talked about the ending a little bit and how it leaves a very confusing conclusion to the film as to what exactly the stance is supposed to be. Are we supposed to end this film thinking, we're pro-abortion, like we should legalize abortion so that women don't have to go through these situations where they may end up going crazy because of it, and experiencing like undescribable pain because of it, shoving a hot rod up the vagina? or are we supposed to be anti-abortion? Where
don't have sex.
Yeah, like don't have sex. These women were whores. They kind of had it coming to them, but just don't do it.
You
and
can
won't
draw
have to.
either conclusion from this film.
I-
That yeah, you know what? People are gonna have sex and be safe, and things happen.
Yeah.
Or you could take it the other way, like don't have sex, celibacy's the way.
Right.
Let Jesus guide you.
Because to be honest with you, the killer's motivation is really mixed. I mean, yes, he is murdering women in very horrible ways, but at the same time, in his eyes, it's kind of warranted because of what they did to his daughter, making her go crazy, giving her like a hot rod abortion, which he believes was against her will.
And he makes them before he kills them. Because he dresses as a priest.
Yeah,
He
makes them give confession.
Yeah,
I think that it's kind of a strange way to view this killer. I mean, I'm not saying that films always have to take like a stance on their killer, like he's got to be pure evil to do this. I don't think that's true. I think you can have a film that doesn't really give you a way to look at this character. You're supposed to, most villains are good because they have two different sides. Like you can see, well, I can sympathize with that, but at the same time, I probably wouldn't go to killing people with him.
He probably wouldn't kill people if she, after the abortion, was still normal.
Right.
He would be like, why are you fucking around?
Yeah.
But because she's crazy now, he's got the vendetta because he doesn't know how to deal with that.
I think it sends mixed signals as to how the film views its killer and its subject matter. But if I were to take a guess, based on clues and symbolism that I see within the film, I think that it is pro-abortion. I feel like it's observing the mixed messages that women get when it comes to sexuality. In that you can be labeled a whore because you slept with one person, that men are able to judge you based on whatever they think about you, because we do see a lot of like very manipulative and lecherous men in this film. Mm-hmm. Not just Enrico, who really is, as a protagonist, a pretty grody person. Almost nearly forcing an 18-year-old girl to have sex with him. That is his student.
Yeah, and he gets very upset in the beginning when he's trying to, go and finger her, and she's like, not right now. Yeah. And he's like, why? I love you. And she's like, I wanted to, but not right now. And
she witnessed a murder.
And he flies off the handle on her. Like, I can't believe this bullshit. If you.
Yeah, not only him, but there's also a very creepy priest guy who spies on them in the shower. And then just a lot of the other, like, mixed signals that the men send the women as to how they're supposed to act, what they're supposed to be like. Obviously, they have a close friendship. They're called dykes. There is a lot of references to how female sexuality is viewed by a masculine presence. And I think that when we take all of that into consideration, I believe that it is saying that it's pro-abortion.
Not only that, when they talk about everyone finds out that Enrico was cheating on his wife with Elizabeth, they say, well, she was cold.
Right, exactly.
She was very cold and kind of bitchy.
So it was okay.
So of course he was gonna go, wandering off. So it's like,
And exactly, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because especially with his wife too, she's expected now. Once they find out that Enrico did not sleep with Elizabeth, she's fine. She's back to normal, because she's not
bitchy. Right. In fact, she's up his ass.
In that case, she's
in the way like I want that now.
Yeah, she's equating sexuality to cheating. So if he did not have sex with her, then that's fine. It's cool. Everything's fine. But if he did have sex with her, then that is totally unacceptable, and she was a whore. She stole him away from her.
Even though the relationship that they even had to begin with was inappropriate.
So I definitely see this film as a pro-abortion film, that if this were not the case, if people were a little bit more accepting of female sexuality, not labeling people whores, they first wouldn't need to form sex parties in secret. They could talk about safe sex practices and also the need for an abortion when that happens, and Solange needs to seek out an abortion. You wouldn't need to go for a hot needle insertion.
You wouldn't need to do that if you were just practicing safe sex.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you're gonna have sex. These are condoms.
Right.
Use them. Here's the pill. Do that. So I was seeing on Facebook the other day, like it was. I don't know if the article was true or not, but it was like an article that was about possible like a pill for men that would like. So they couldn't do,
Oh, right, yeah.
And, what I was seeing in the comments? Guys like, I wouldn't take that. It's not natural.
Right.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's not natural.
Are you fucking... Stop. Shut the fuck up. The Lay's chips you eat are not natural. The domicile you live in is not Are you living in a fucking cave?
Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Shut the fuck... shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Stupid. You deserve to have like 10 kids and a welfare check coming your way if you think like that. God, getting off topic on that one.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. It's like, it's not that. Then, go live in the jungle then. Have fun.
So I think we have to talk about the violence because we haven't really talked about that much.
You know what? It is disturbing.
Yeah.
I don't give it credit for... going all the way for the most part.
I think a lot of it we don't actually see on screen.
They show the aftermath.
Yeah,
the aftermath's good enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to see the guy stabbing a chicken or twat for it to be effective. You're going to see the body with the knife left in the twat. Be like, yeah, that's probably not a good way to die. I'd rather have the guy from I Know What You Did Last Summer slam me in the neck with a fish hook.
Yeah. I think the most effective kill that's shown in this film is the one that is actually the maid. Because that's kind of like a very tense moment where Enrico thinks he's going to get answers. He's going to the maid's house because he's been given this note that says, go to this house, they will know. And he's searching around. He first sees a bludgeoned dog that's dead. And Ennio Morricone's score here is really good. I like this one a lot. I like this music sting quite a bit in this scene. And then he moves to the back of the house where he finds the maid dead. But this time it's a little bit different. It's not like a huge knife in the vagina. This time it's actually no, it's not a shovel. It's like a scythe. It's like a curved blade. He picks up a shovel because it has blood on it. But then, when he finds her, there's actually like a scythe that's in there. So I think it's like a little interesting change up from what we've seen before, because a lot of the film actually features just like knives and vaginas.
And I'll say it's, I think the best kill was the Elizabeth kill, the drowning.
I do too. And the one that we actually see.
And I think that works very well because one, drowning, not a very pleasant way to go.
Right.
You get to be conscious for that entire, and two, I think that works really well because again, everyone else he's stabbing in the vagina,
right?
But he doesn't stab her because one, she's a virgin, and two, she was against the thing to begin with.
Yeah.
She wasn't in favor of Solange going through with the abortion.
So she doesn't have to experience the hour of painful death as she like bleeds out from her vaginal wound. Yeah. So I mean, I get that, and again, I think that's another version of pro-abortion.
So I think in context, I think how it's done, the context, I think it works the best. I think, and again, it's the fact that you get that again great POV shot of just show, and again, it doesn't go away. Like there's the only camera going away from the actual drowning part is like it quickly will sometimes flash to the legs flailing in the water. But for the most part, it's focused on her getting shoved into the water constantly back and forth until she stops moving.
Yeah.
That's very well done.
What do you think about Ennio Morricone's score in this one?
It's an Ennio Morricone score.
I honestly think that it's not that memorable for the most part.
Like I said, I think the choir parts to me sound like he just had leftover bits from Once Upon a Time in the West theme. He's like, hey, and as you said, it sounds like they called him up. Hey, you got some music for us? And he's like, yeah, I'll just send you some shit. Because for the most part, and I'm not saying the music's bad, because it's not, but again, you're right, it's not memorable, and not only is it not memorable, it's, for the most part, misplaced. Outside of a few scenes, it's not well utilized, and
which is not unnatural for a giallo or Italian horror film.
It's still a bad choice, though.
Yeah, no.
Again, when you go from a kill, then all of a sudden you go to a funky beat, and ding, ding, going down the street, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, no, it's a juxtaposition that does not work.
Right. No, I think that this is probably... I mean, I don't think it's Ennio Morricone's worst score by far. I think that there are some really good moments here. And if you go to YouTube and you actually listen to the full soundtrack, I think you'll find some actually good tracks in this. I like a lot of the tense score to it. He used a lot of atonal notes in his music stings. But for the most part, a lot of the funkier soundtrack, the romantic style soundtrack that I guess you would call it when it plays during scenes with Enrico and Elizabeth, I don't really think they're that memorable. They don't really stand out. Not like some of his Western works, or some of his more sinister sounding scores. I don't know. I mean, this one, I can't say that I really found his work on this film to be memorable at all. You're not going to watch What Have You Done to Solange and think wow, the score's really great on this one. I don't think.
No.
It's almost sometimes not noticeable. Kind of fades out after a while. After you've heard the first few different themes, like the funky theme and the romantic theme, then you kind of forget about it after that. It's not really
wallpaper.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and some people might think that that's kind of the point. It's kind of supposed to be just wallpaper. You don't really notice it. It's in the background. It kind of sets the mood for the theme, for the film itself. Sets the mood for the scene. But I don't agree with that. I think that it's not one of his best. I'll say that.
I think we're in agreement on that.
Anything else that you want to add about What Have You Done to Solange before?
I will say a high point's the acting. I do think there really isn't anyone outside of a few random professors.
Yeah, which is extras and stuff like that. Yeah,
that are bad. I think overall everyone's pretty damn good in it.
And to be honest with you, a lot of this was shot in English, as you can tell. There are both on the Blu-ray that we watched from Arrow Video. There's both an English and an Italian track, but the English track is the one that they are speaking. Yeah. For the most part. I mean, there's probably a few actors that are speaking Italian, but for the most part, they're speaking English. And it actually makes sense too for you to watch it in English, because we watched it a little bit in Italian, and a lot of the students are actually taking Italian class and learning Italian. So it doesn't really make sense for them to be speaking Italian, because this is all set in London. It doesn't make sense for them to be speaking Italian while also learning how to speak Italian.
Not only that, but I think the Blu-ray by Arrow, the package and the features is pretty good. I would say watch it English for the sole reason the subtitles, you can't fucking read them, because they're in white.
Yeah.
And a lot of the backgrounds in this have some form of white, so you cannot read for a good. That's the main reason why we switched, because we were watching in Italian originally, but I told Ryan we had to switch because I just couldn't fucking read the subtitles anymore, because they just constantly were blending into the scene in the background. So, Please, Arrow, switch to yellow.
Switch to yellow subtitles. Yeah, I think I actually prefer the English one too, because sometimes
I thought they were both.
I thought pretty good.
I thought I thought the Italian was acted well, and I thought the English was too. The only bad part is in English was like right when we flipped over, and the one guy with the beard's getting interviewed in the police station. He's totally going batshit, flipping out for no reason. Like all of a sudden, he's just like having like a meltdown because he got brought in. He was asked, to describe what he saw, and he's just the way the way he acted, and not only that, but the dub of it was just like so over the top. But
yeah.
Again, he was kind of not an extra, but a very small bit character, so it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, though, I didn't really see too much of an issue with any of the acting. It's pretty fair, and it definitely doesn't have any of the annoying kids that giallos tend to have, so that's always good, too. All right, so what would you rate What Have You Done to Solange on a scale of 1 to 10 knives in a vagina?
I knew you'd say that. 7.
7 out of 10?
I'd give it a 7.
That's actually higher than I thought you would rate it.
Again, I don't think it's a bad film. I think the ending is what
detracts from this.
Really is going to probably piss some people off, just because the fact the ending happens and then it's literally a 20-second exposition dump on like, oh, this is what happened. Reason why, the end. And it's like, because you weren't given that, again, you wouldn't have to do that exposition dump in 20 seconds at the end if you were given the clues along the way.
And the bigger thing, too, is that the exposition dump comes from the inspector.
Who would not be privy.
Why would he know that information and withhold it from everybody if he already knew it?
Yeah. Or if you at least knew, or if they at least left the clues there for that stuff, then you could also have that dump, because then it'll connect all the dots, but there's nothing there to connect those dots, so it's... You could have left it with, just an ending, and he doesn't even say anything, so there's no explanation. I'd be better off with that, because, again, they ask, whatever did happen to Solange? You don't know. Try to figure it out. Good luck. I would be even more fine with that, because they didn't give you anything.
Yeah.
So you gotta try to piece what they did give you. You're probably never gonna find out, but that's the point of the film. This one had the point, they just decided, we'll save it in 10 seconds.
Well, to be honest, yeah, I mean, that actually is a good point. I think that you could, if you knew that Solange's father was the killer, and you knew that all of the deaths, for the most part, occurred with students who confessed to him and also were stabbed in the vagina, I think you could kind of piece that together yourself. If they left you, just this shot of Solange looking forlorn and, mentally ill at the end of the film, I think you could piece it together. That something happened to her bad. That also was sexually a factor. I think you could piece that together. I don't think you need them to go into detail about the actual abortion that happens. Although I think that, the cool black and white format of it works a little bit for this film. It kind of gives it a little bit of a different feeling to it. But I don't know if you actually need them to go into that detail. I think you could. I think that was holding the viewer's hand a little bit. That's just my opinion on it, though. I would say I would give this a 7.5. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's the best giallo I've ever seen. I wouldn't rate it in my top 10 giallos right now that I've seen.
I'd hope not if you gave it a 7.5.
Yeah,
otherwise, that has a lot to say about the giallo films.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, I think it's pretty good, but I think it does have significant flaws that detract from it. I definitely don't think this film is for everybody. Anybody who has difficulty with slower paced films, or even doesn't really like murder investigations or detective work, you're not gonna like this. You can just turn it off right now. You're not gonna like it. It's not gonna be for you. Which is fine, but I mean, just know that when you get into this, it is a slower paced film. It's gonna take its time with some of like the detective work and really getting through the plot itself. And you're not going to know who Solange is until very late in the film. So,
get a lot of red herrings.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of red herrings. That's one thing you can say about this film is that it really does mess with the viewer in terms of like what you can trust and what you can like who's the suspect.
Now, who did you think?
Who did I think there was a suspect?
Yeah.
I actually kind of suspected like Herta, Enrico's wife.
Here. I thought,
and probably in concert with someone else. You know, like working with someone else. I could totally see that occurring, and that was probably I could see why she would be so quick to try to help him figure it out in terms of like turning on her partner or something like that. I am kind of surprised they didn't go that route because I don't want to bring too much up, but when we cover the night Evelyn came out of the grave, it's going to be kind of a big thing in the plot. So I'm kind of surprised that it didn't go that route with either two killers or not, maybe not killers, but people that were together, like working together. So that was my guess, having not seen the film.
Yeah, no, she was my guess too. Like, just
because I think that would actually make her character make a little bit more sense. Because right now,
and make the character development that they try to give, you know, like her being a cold, hard bitch to, as the film would basically put it.
Yeah.
To Enrico. And then to once she finds out, he wasn't cheating. He was just cheating. And then, she cared. And make that turn even more, like, sensible. Because, like, so, like, now that he's been denied of being a suspect, that would mean she'd have to kind of change her tone towards him to kind of lead, him and the investigators a different direction. So that's mainly where I was coming from.
Yeah, I thought it would make more sense for her character, for sure.
But then again, as I said before in Tenebrae, usually the killer always is the person, obviously the least obvious and gets the least screen time, and that worked for this one.
Yep.
Didn't follow that for him. But then again, the bit that we did see that character was mainly in Italian, and like I said, because I couldn't read half the subtitles for part of that, I had no idea. Like, he even showed up in the beginning until I was like, oh yeah, he was there. So,
yeah, he wasn't a huge part of the film at all, really. Yeah. I mean, not like some of the other characters that you see. So yeah, he was a pretty minor character up until the finale. All right, so next week, what did we have in store? I think we were going to do the night Evelyn came out of the grave.
Yep.
And move on from there to do what was it? Oh, probably Leprechaun 2. Yeah. Because I think that's going to take us right into St. Patrick's Day.
About to.
Around St. Patrick's Day. So I think we'll probably do the night Evelyn came out of the grave next week. And then follow that up with Leprechaun 2. If you haven't listened to our first Leprechaun episode, please do so before our Leprechaun 2 episode. Honestly, it'll be interesting because I have not seen Leprechaun 2 in many years.
Neither have I.
And
I'll probably be thankful.
To be honest with you, we did not enjoy watching Leprechaun very much at all. It was a test of patience, and I think you can hear that in the other episodes. So go back and listen to that. That was an early episode. It was probably...
That feels like...
episode 15, 16, something like that. That
feels like that was just yesterday, too.
I know it does, I know. And we've been doing this podcast for so long. But I do believe that it was probably like 15, 16, something like that.
Let's see if you got
I'm going to look it up right now.
Keeper of the books.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up right now just to see what it was. Because I don't really remember what it was. But it was pretty late. I know that. 18. That was pretty close. We did it right after my Bloody Valentine stuff.
3D.
Yep. So that was 17 and 18. Those were tough films. Those were tough episodes.
16 was great.
God damn. We had a lot of downloads on our My Bloody Valentine 3D. Just saying. Quite a bit there. Thanks for listening to that one. I'm sure you...
if you haven't downloaded, download it
go
now.
check that one out, too. Episode 17
We're still
and
in
18.
February. Valentine's Day isn't totally...
Yeah, it's not over yet. Go download that. Listen to how much we hated My Bloody Valentine 3D and let us know what you think.
Yeah, but probably after Leprechaun 2, we'll do one more film, and then I think that'll probably lead us into Ghost in the Shell.
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
Because we're doing that,
Yeah.
boys and girls.
Absolutely.
When does Wonder Woman come out?
I think that's later on in this year.
I could have swore that was early spring, but
Isn't it like May? I feel like it may be...
I felt like they were going to release it in early spring. They might have pushed it back.
I feel like it would... Oh, June 2nd.
Oh, God.
So we got a little ways to go.
Thank God.
Yeah. We can put that off a little bit longer.
Now, did they, has Ben Affleck officially done with Batman?
I don't know about officially.
Because I saw some, like a Facebook post that's like, who would you like to see to be the new Batman? I'm like, did Ben Affleck leave?
I mean, I don't know about officially, but I know that there was talk about it. And probably people were just doing like polls and stuff.
Well, the people they had listed to be the new Bruce Wayne, I was not like happy with. They were all like terrible choices. I can't remember who, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to any of that at all. So, most of those films,
I am almost just for the shit,
True.
the shit show now.
True.
Because I know it's not. I know I'm not going to enjoy it. So now it's just like, if I'm gonna suffer through this 2.5 hour shit show, it's
honestly, I don't want to. I hope that it's good. I do.
not going to be.
I know it's not, but I hope that it is. You gotta have hope.
You're what Warner Brothers is feeding off of right now.
That people are continuing to go to it, like thinking like, well, maybe they'll find something.
Can't get any worse. It's like me as a Bills fan. Like, 18 years, can't get any worse.
I know.
And it always does.
Well, they're going to be summer blockbusters because that's why Wonder Woman's releasing in June, because they want a summer blockbuster.
They're going to beat Transformers.
I don't know.
With Anthony Hopkins.
Maybe we need to go see Transformers as well.
There's not enough money. No.
You're cutting it off at Transformers.
There's not enough money in the world for you to drag me to a Transformers film. Sorry. I've only seen the first one, and I absolutely hated it. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it in at college, and they had it on TV before, because they at college they had a channel that would play movies that were just out of the theaters that you could watch on TV. And I remember one day I was watching Transformers with a couple people, and they're like, "This is awesome." I'm like, "What the fuck are you? This is terrible."
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really sad when I saw Anthony Hopkins was going to be in Transformers 5.
They stuck him in there. They got him in there.
I'm like, oh, he needs money. He's broke now too.
That's true. All right, so it's time for administrative stuff.
The best kind of stuff.
That's it. That's right. We want to thank you for listening. Most people will be listening to us on iTunes, but if you're not, go check us out on iTunes and subscribe, and also leave us a nice review. Hoping you'll give us 4 or 5 stars. That helps us out because it gives people some sort of context in which to go on when they listen to us. We also are on Stitcher and other podcast apps like that. If you can rate and review us on those apps, we certainly appreciate it. And it helps us out quite a bit. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Like us on there, write to us. We will respond as always. We also have a group on there. We're on Twitter as well, Blood N Black Rum. And I use that quite a bit. We hope that you'll retweet our episodes, and we will do the same in turn. So follow us on there, and as always, write to us as well. We're also on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. On Patreon, you can donate to us and subscribe. So if you subscribe on there, you'll get all of our updates. And if you donate, we do have a few different options for you that we'll do for you. So you can get your name mentioned on the podcast. You can pick some films that we'll cover on the show, and you can also pick a film for us to do a script read of, which is really fun. We haven't done anything like that before, so you would be the first one to do that for us. Now, Patreon is a monthly subscription, just so you know, so don't pledge a whole lot of money that you don't have for each month, because it will be coming out every month. And we appreciate anything that you can give to us to help us keep this podcast alive. We also have an email address as well, bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. We hope you'll write to us. Let us know what kind of films that you want to see us cover on here, and we'll try to award you with that. I think I hit everything for our administrative features. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, a very fun giallo film. And since we're sticking to our Blood and Black Rum Podcast giallo genre that we promised at the beginning of the show. And we hope you'll come back every week to hear what we have in store for you on the Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Take care.